Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 2v2 for you guys on Paddyfield, of course the 1v1 version of Paddyfield here today, and I just want to do a shout out to NoirLimes, the private on the other team, who is, I think, a fan of the channel, and we had a nice pleasant conversation before and during the game, but this is anything but pleasant right now, as his ally, Nicola81, is starting off with 3 different planes, including a seaplane and a bomber. We were able to get mostly out of the way. Unfortunately, my ally, Han was not so fortunate with that, so some of his stuff does get smacked, but far less than the value of the bomber, which we did kill. I only regretted that we weren't able to get any of the other planes there, because most of our anti-air was moving and not really on target. And, I mean, other than that, there's still more in the air. Look at this. There's an Akula, there's an MI-8 MTV, it's KA-52, all of this different stuff. And the KA-52 in particular can shoot at radar AA, so we had to be really careful there. But a Draken from my side was able to get the kill, and largely we're moving up undeterred. And actually at this point in the game, I felt relatively confident because, yeah, I mean, 2 of his planes got out, but we've killed at least 350 points, well, 320 points or so, worth of air assets, and most of my stuff on the ground is still alive, and it looks like Nicola81's on that side of the map. The real trouble that we're going to have here, I think, is that Nicola was able to damage Han's opener, which is going up into Bravo, and NoirLimes is still, you know, fully equipped. So here I'm doing a little bit of a dive, my Barak 2 going after that Akula. It is at full strength, and I'm just trying to see if this works. It looks like swing and a miss there, so unfortunately no. But we do actually trade for 27S, which probably not worth it. I think the 27S, if memory serves, is a little bit cheaper, but I mean, I'm not entirely sure about that. We do pancake that plane, so at least it does draw out another buy, and that's sort of what I was thinking about here. That plane was not in Nicola81's opener, which means that he spent points on it that he could have otherwise spent on reinforcements. So everything here is going to be moving up. The Rovaites and their Zeldas moving forward, Shayatet 13 moving forward. Admittedly, a little bit of open ground, and there is something in this section, maybe Gornostrelki, maybe ATGMs, and that Akula is back. So we haven't won this outright necessarily, but if I can get my Draken up and into place, you can see he's scooching along in the woods here, that could be a very good thing. Now, on this side, NoirLimes is playing a lot around the edges, so we already have some base defense with an automatic and a mock bet. It's just sort of what we're going to do as soon as we have that air-heavy opener from the Red 4 team. And in the meantime, my stuff, really trying to avoid playing on Fox if I can, and this guy needs to come up and forward, but there were no appropriate targets, so I was just testing it out. I'm not too comfortable with Israel. At the time of recording, I played a couple more games after this one, but I'm still really just learning the ropes of this faction, and I wanted to see just what this unit could do. It is kind of expensive for that. It's 110 points. It's right now sitting at a little bit of a dead buy. Probably would be better as a more reactive unit to handle armor pushes from the Red 4 team, but I don't know, you live and learn, you play and you learn, and you do things differently in the following games. So, I don't know, this was good and bad. So the Salamandra only has 4 missiles. I'm happy with him wasting those on 5-point boxes, even if he gets hits, which it looks like the first one and the second one were not. Sometimes smoke can sort of get in the way of that, and my Draken, unfortunately, nearly out. But this was a bit of a spike Kurnos, so I was sitting there going, you know what, I'm going to see if you're not going to move, and if you're not going to move, then the HE on those bombs could reasonably at least damage the Salamandra, as it is a little bit of a waste, but I don't know. I mean, we were getting forward into Golf. Winning that fight in Golf often does mean that the Blue 4 side of the map that we're currently on has a very, very good day. So I was a little bit hopeful at this point in time, and I do apologize, by the way. I'm still getting used to my new microphone, and I think I figured out just today that when I laughed a little bit the other day, it came out as a little bit of a huff as well, just because of the microphone placement next to my face as opposed to on my desk like the last one was. So I do apologize for that. Yeah, I'm working on it. I might end up getting a different microphone as well if this one isn't exactly pleasing. But on that topic, and on the topic of a little bit non-game stuff, please don't hesitate to leave a like, share, subscribe, and all that YouTuber nonsense. It really does help me out quite a bit. And I mean, we have Shermans up here. They're 15-point vehicles. They've been taking rocket pods from a 35-point helicopter, and it hasn't really gotten kills. Yeah, I mean, we're damaged, we're panicked, but it's sort of just occupying this space. And anything that comes down, either on this road or the one to the right, will take potentially side shots from the Sherman's guns, which, admittedly, 9 AP, but 45% accuracy really isn't too terrible, and I was hoping we could sort of bust some IFVs, or at least slow everything down. You can also see that my 3D Baz here is a bit farther back. That's in part because of the Akula, and also because of the reliance on planes, so I don't know, he did kind of force me not to use some of my tools. Now the Pera is moving up on this side, Siphon moving up on the left, and you can see I'm not really playing around that left flank, and this is something I've stressed before is important to play on, because if you lose that flank, you lose the ability to really contest the far end of Foxtrot. But here, the strategy was something different. It is, you know, more of our focus now to automatic getting the last shot, nice, to really fight between Bravo and the Square Forest on Golf, and make my opponent seem to waste his points on the left flank, at least for right now, as we do secure and solidify this position. Now, I do kind of wish that we'd been able to work together a little bit better to capture the top side of this, because once you do that, Alpha is under threat, but it's really easy for the Red 4 team to roll that back, even if you come out in force. So I think that's why we're just playing a little bit cautious, making sure we had our base defense covered, which Honda Hun is doing really, really well. Scout Defenders, Falskrim Wildcat, NM45s, all of that sort of stuff that we would need to make sure that we don't die a horrible, horrible death. And this is what I was talking about. So the Ice Shermans are doing well, its FAE is actually stunning some things, and my Kurnos was going for the T80BV. Let's see if we can get him here, and doesn't look like it. I don't know if I just rolled a miss, or... Ooh, actually we might have. Yeah, unfortunately not. So this would have been a nice 110-point kill. 3 top armor means the Kurnos could, in theory, kill that, but a little bit of a swing and a miss there on that expensive plane. So far, 0 for 2 on our Kurnos runs, which is something I definitely have to work on. But this Merida's coming down. Syria also does take out my Para, which is a bit of a blow. But the Ice Sherman's killing Meridas, yeah, I mean that sort of, it doesn't make up for it entirely in that one engagement, but that is definitely worthwhile. It was just more guns at close range, right? So we also keep picking apart that Red 4 air tab, and only 7 minutes in to have lost that many planes is a really bad thing, because if you allow someone to secure the ground, and then start using their air tab, it can be very oppressive, but it looks like the Red 4 team here is being just a little bit more aggressive with the air tab than I would necessarily do early on in the game. You can see I've really been trying to get away from that, and this is exactly why. That was an 85-point rocket plane, and down he goes. And he didn't even really kill anything, which I don't know if the intention was or wasn't to hit anything in particular, but unfortunately no dice there. Now my Draken is being hunted by a seed plane, but it's just radar, non-radar AA rather, infrared AA, and unfortunately no shots because we were between volleys and reloading this gun. So for those of you who don't know, you get a certain amount of shots before you have to reload for different units, AA pieces, vehicles, ATGM vehicles, things like that, and the Drakens, I believe, is 4. You can see that with a 20-second reload in the lower left there. That usually indicates 4, because it's sort of standardized around 5 seconds per round. Well, not round, missile, I suppose. So the Ice Shermans are doing well here, but we are going to be sort of outgunned a little bit, even just by these 10-point vehicles, because, I mean, they're fresh, they're healthy, and we'll get a couple of kills, but nothing crazy. And the T80BV is in a bad position, so down to 1 strength. 3D Baz unfortunately misses that shot, but we get him with the Maglan team. It's exactly why I put the Maglan team up this far. I wanted the Maglan to be able to sort of cover any sort of shots that we weren't able to get here, but this is a little bit scary. And you can see NoirLimes, who had been playing over on the right-hand side, and actually is right now as well. You can see this is why Honda Hun's pushing up and into him right when he's fighting over in Golf. Split his attention, try and make sure that we're grinding down his forces on both flanks instead of just in one area, as we're trying to weather this push. But 24M coming in, but this is 130 points worth of bomber for 60 points worth of Ice Shermans, and we still have one alive there too, so they still have to look at that as a position with enemy forces. Kurnos coming in, this time we should get some good kills there, just sort of cleaning up the end of that push, but Reserve Suchin have gotten into the town, and all in all I think this was a good trade for us. We didn't really lose much that was too expensive, and we were able to grind down the Red 4 team a little bit more. But unfortunately, it's just, I mean, it's hard to take this ridge. There's a little bit of time when you're climbing the cliff face, I guess, or when you're walking right up here, yeah, there it is, where you're between tree lines. So all the infantry that's moving that way will be in the open. They will not get forest cover, and that can really lead to some surprising engagements where you think you're in forest cover, because, you know, zoomed out this looks kind of continuous. It's not. And your troops can lose against things that they otherwise wouldn't, because they're not getting the in-cover damage reduction. So Syria is coming for my Baz here. I'm trying to get him back, but I think it's actually the F-16AM that stuns that plane and then is able to save my bacon. So Honda Hun coming in clutch, keeping my Super Heavy alive when my smoke was just a little bit too slow. And I don't know, I think with Israel I almost want to take 2 of these, just because what happened there, I think, was I was originally too far away. So my Laish only has 4,900 meter range, and I don't know, maybe it wasn't that, maybe my micro just slipped. I'd certainly believe it. But regardless, one way or another, we are being pushed back. More reinforcements from NoirLimes and from Nicola, both trying to push into Golf. I think they sort of recognize they need to get back into this position in order to really reclaim a strong influence in this game. But the Mi-8TV should get killed here by the Draken in just a second. There it is. And that is pretty worthwhile. I mean, I haven't even put any new infantry in this town in quite a while, which, admittedly, not the best play on my part. But we have infantry now headed up toward the right side into Bravo, and 3 Magok 6s, 55-point tanks for that, 10 rounds a minute, very nice. 15 AP power, maybe a little bit anemic, but it's only 55 points, right? You can't get everything you want, and 12 frontal armor is pretty good. So, I don't know, I think it's a solid tank, and I was just trying to get them into a fire support position here, able to pick out those SPW 70s and hopefully kill anything bringing in more enemy troops before they get into the town. So that's sort of the firepower I wanted here. Plus, I mean, I figured it's 3 targets, it's 3 tanks. If I lose one individually, it's not the end of the world, really. Yeah, bit of a give and take there. So Kurnos is evac ordered as we do sort of wrap up some of the stuff that was in that town. And you can see in response to my Magok 6s, the SPW 80s that were headed into Gulf are instead, ooh, Panzerjäger's still alive. That's kind of scary. But the SPW 80s were instead headed around to the flank. And now we do have to be kind of worried about that. So I have Bedouins, I have a Ramreki, my ally has a Wildcat and a Lynx over there. We don't want to get flanked entirely, we just also don't really want to fight in that side. Unfortunately, my AA net still needed a little bit of work here, and unfortunately, I don't even think we get the 27M. Yeah, you got out. That was kind of upsetting, but I mean, it's 110 points. That was definitely a blunder on my part, not having those Magok 6s covered enough while they're moving forward. Should have had some smoke, should have had some things there. You don't really think about it with cheaper tanks, but if you have a bunch of them in one position, they add up to quite a lot of points. And that, I mean, it's 110 points. It makes up for the BV that I was able to kill off the Red 4 team earlier for no return on their part with the 3D Baz and the Moglon. So it was a bit of a swing. You know, you're doing that mental calculus on who's ahead on the board whenever you're playing one of these games, and that was definitely some mental calculus that swung back in the other direction. But now I do have Shaitet 13. I wasn't entirely confident that we'd been able to kill the Panzerjäger in the, well, the support fire teams anyway, in this town, so I was just walking up to Shaitet and then moving the Zeldas directly in, trying to make sure that they draw fire first, which, I don't know, it sort of worked out better that the Kurnos was successful and cleared out the town. We've reinforced it entirely. It would be better to have an ATGM here, but I figured it's been taking so much direct confrontation that I just wanted to put some bodies in there and make sure it was hard to take that thing out. So, in the meantime, Reserve Schutzen are fighting the Stormer, and Han Han is making slow, grinding progress up, but 1-2 vehicles here looks like tanks from the fire of those main guns coming into the Stormer, and this is another reason it's so hard to push up that side, because your opponent can just sit things back here, shoot in, and unless you're doing some massive coordinated push up this flank as well, it can be a lot of trouble keeping your infantry not spotted and alive, because when they fight infantry in those woods, they will be spotted as well, even if they're back into the woods off the open ground in the middle. So at this point we have more bombers coming in. 21 MF rocket plane does take out my Draken, very sad about that, but I shouldn't have had him in the open ground, so again, just a little bit of a learning experience for me, and I really struggle with anti-air whenever I play as Israel, so this is something I've been working on. The Draken's phenomenal anti-helicopter. Like, this guy's our original Draken, and his kill list at the end, if you're just looking for that sort of thing, I recommend you skip to it because it was a mile long. It was great. But we are ticking up on points. I haven't really mentioned it before in this game, but we're up 185-0. Bravo has been secured for a while, Fox secured as well, and I'm just now going to be securing Gulf. Predictable position in the square forest, but I mean, it's a bit safer than anything that's being attacked over on this side, especially with the reliance on the air tab and the helicopter tab that our opponents have had. So Kurnos coming in, and I was hoping to kill some of those tanks, but I think they pull back. Yeah, unfortunate. The Kurnos, I don't know, I take 2 of them down vetted, and I was talking to somebody who recently said that they take actually 1 up vet because it's just that little bit more effective. And that can really mean a lot when it comes down to getting that crucial 1 kill. So Merkava 3D Baz is shooting over, and I think we're using the Lahat ATGMs. There goes a Dyna, so I actually really like these things. Usually ATGMs I find to be a little underwhelming, particularly on the higher point tanks that really want that main gun firing more often. But these guys have 22 AP power, 65% accuracy. That's going to hit more often than not, especially with higher veterancy, which we don't have right now. My Baz is still down at veterancy 2. But, I mean, you get a couple of kills, you win a super heavy fight, and then all of a sudden you're up veterancy pretty quickly after that. So, F-16 from Han to Hun continuing to be just an amazing option here. Seaplane still not finding any targets, and this is part of why I didn't really bring in any Shinavs or anything like that, which of course is the radar anti-air for Israel. I just didn't really want to get killed by my enemy's seed planes, which had been very nice. Unfortunately, also, this is something, it trips me up a lot. If you call in an ASF on a particular target and that target dies, your plane will start to circle. So what you really should do, and what I should really do a bit more often, is call him in out to the middle of the field and then assign a target when he gets close to knowing what I want him to engage. So we do see Spetsnaz VMF moving up. That's the two-man sniper team, very, very stealthy, and I really have no answer for it over on this side. We just have some Jaeger 90 from Han to Han, and then a holding force of Rovite and Zeldas in the town on the left, just trying to make sure we don't secure that position. And I mean, really, I think at this point they've invested quite a lot. So there's triple stack of EDV, Igla Ns, BTRDs, Spetsnaz Gru, OSAs, more OSAs, Sturmass, double Sturmass, which this is a rare unit. I want it to work so often, but 20 AP power is a little anemic for 50 points. And we're holding all of that back with a comparatively light sort of force as we're fighting over the zones themselves. So remember, in Conquest, the zones are the goal. If you're down a little bit on kills, but you keep the zones, you win. If you're down a lot on kills and you keep the zones, you win. It just becomes a little bit harder to keep the zones, particularly in the late game. And today, I think the Red 4 team would have been maybe a little bit better off really just putting their points together and focusing on one of the zones themselves, be it Bravo or Golf, to be honest, instead of trying to wrap around the flank. Because what's going to happen here is the VDV fighting in, and I'm pushing up just to see, because, I mean, we're fighting on this side, and at this point we're up so many points from the air tab losses for the Red 4 team that I was okay with losing some things if it meant that I bought a little bit of time for Golf and for the +2 tick that we have going on here, just to keep going that much longer. Unfortunately, a little bit of a pancake here, moving up into Anna. Mi-17, helicopters on the high ground really make this a hard point to push, so this was something the Mint Jellyman, who is a wonderful, wonderful player, told me as well. It's what he does. He takes a couple of helicopters, puts them up in alpha, anything that comes up over that side just gets beamed. But we were able to Kernos the VDV, I think. Yep, all 3 squads are dead. Sorry we missed that bombing run, they are kind of fun to watch, but there were more forces still in that town. So some Spetsnaz Gru, who, I mean, they're panicked. Some of my Rovate are panicked, but if they stayed there, I think we actually would have gotten the kill. As it is, just trying to pound them down with artillery from the MAR-290s and the BKen-1C from Hun to Hun, and make sure that they're bleeding points on that side as well, because if they feel the need to reinforce there, sure. Fine, let them reinforce there. It's not going into Golf, it's not pushing us out of map control. I really don't care that much, it's fine. So Commandosi Reserve Schutzen, this is really scary, and Han to Hun's troops here are going to be saved just in time by a Fighting Falcon. Let's see those bombs go down, and yeah, that's a nice kill. Fighting Falcons are amazing. By the way, I won't do as much switching between my perspective and the enemy perspective next game. I know it kind of annoys some people, but I tend to like to watch it for some things. Just, you know, bombing runs that you suspect are going to be good, or even ones that went poorly but you weren't really sure why, right? So it's good to see both of those, to see what works and what doesn't. DHS Mi-24P call out from NoirLimes. I love this helicopter. The Molnias are amazing for anti-plane and anti-helicopter work, but I don't know, here I think he's just replacing what he had with the Mi-17 up a little farther, and it certainly will do the job, but it doesn't have as many rocket pods, so it's going to be better against armored targets and helicopters than it will against infantry that are headed up that side. Of course, if you can take out their armor, their IFVs, their APCs, and all that nonsense, then the infantry on the open ground do pretty much struggle getting into any sort of town block here, especially if there's fire support in the back. I feel like the Alpha Rush either has to be early and entirely, you have to go for it, or it's just going to be a hard thing to push into all game. Much the same for Bravo. You have to, from the Red Force side, you have to get down into the bottom end of the Bravo really early, or it's kind of easy to bleed somebody over that zone from this side of the board. So I don't know, it's odd. I know maps have some weak sides, strong sides. I don't really put too much faith into it, just because I tend to prefer no game here is inherently unwinnable just off of where you start. So Karnos going in, did get a couple of nice kills, took down Osa and Noir, but there's another triple stack of VDV, and this is what I was saying, like, okay, go ahead. They're 20 points apiece, that's 60 points there, plus the BTRD's relatively cost-effective way to bring them in, but it's still 75 points of infantry going into that town, and, you know, I'm happy, I'm here for it, I'm fine with it, it's gonna be fine. MAR-290s, by the way, I've been really enjoying these guys. They only have 4 shots in a volley, but if you spread them out a lot, you can panic and stun so much, and if they get kills, I mean, they can still do pretty well. I'm just sort of pounding in at expected positions at this point, because it's really popular for people to put some AA or other sort of recon fragile things in the front forest and hotel, and I was just sitting there going, you know, if I can kill him, fine, if not, fine, it's alright. Kurnos is going to be a little bit of a swing and a miss here. I didn't think the VDV would move backwards, so we pounded the town right in front of him, and not quite great. If my Rovite had been able to keep line of sight, that would have been a different story, and honestly, this game I think I was really using as a testing ground for what the Kurnos can do, and I guess try not to bomb blind. Every time I bombed blind here with the Kurnos, I missed. And sometimes missed not by very much, like with the vehicles, with the tanks there, we did knock them down both to 2 strength each. But the rest of it really just wasn't that impactful. It was way better to call in the Kurnos when you have a target that you know you can hit and you know you can take out in one go. So we have a bit of a lull. I'm going to put it at 2 speed here as I think both sides on this field are just kind of going, okay, I mean, there's 400 points, we've had a number of good engagements, and we're both sort of gathering our strength. The Red 4 team in particular, they need to have something good now, or this game is going to be pretty much over. Of course, 30 points a minute, this means we need roughly 3 minutes, a little over, not quite that much, over to win the game. With 18 minutes left in the match, they really need to knock us down to a +1 just to get more time, and then turn the tables as well with a +0. So we are going to see just another blind bombing Kurnos, and I just want to take another look at that. VDV in the woods, and let's see if I expected their position correctly. A little bit behind. Yeah, a little bit behind. But we still killed one of the VDV. We did peel off a couple of their supporting units as well, and I think the Fighting Falcon is going to be what takes those guys down, yeah. Oof, yeah. Okay, well, I mean, a bit more successful than just not doing anything with the Kurnos, but again, keep vision and call it in when you have vision, because otherwise it's going to be on cooldown, you're not going to have it when you need it, and it's going to be a little bit difficult. And another thing here too, I could have pushed up into Hotel instead of going over and doing this fight over on the left-hand side, and there is some merit to that. Like I said, play over the zones. This is a 2-value zone. If I can decap it, we win that much faster. You can see they have countercaps in Bravo. That is something that's risky. It does knock us down to a +1 and buys them, it doubles their time before we win, right? So it was about 3 minutes. Now it's going to be just, I mean, well, probably not quite 6 because we have gotten more points since then, but maybe about 5 or so minutes until we win instead of 2. You know, 2.5. And if I had been fighting in Hotel, maybe we could have made that a little bit closer, but it's so risky. You're so close to your opponent's air spawn in particular, which means bombing runs can get away for free, ATGM planes can get away for free. It's hard to use your own fighters over this area, particularly because there's usually a lot of anti-air up on the high ground. And so, you know, I didn't want to throw away a good map position by being a little over-aggressive, and I saw no reason to, given that we had Gulf sort of all under control. So, K52 on the left there, my Draken is pushing up to try and get a cheeky kill on NoirLimes' Salamandra, which, I don't think he noticed. Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. Of course, we do miss the first shot. Let's see if we can miss the second. Yep, missed the second shot. Here's the third. There it goes. So, you know, never really getting the hit that I want. And there will be an answering 27M from Nicola, who did, looks like, notice that for his teammate. About even trade there. But if we can get the 27M, so my Barak 2's going in for a dive, unfortunately taken out by a Book M1, and that was a really big loss. I mean, we hadn't had that many losses before then, but between the Barak 2 and the Kurnos seed plane, that's a huge, huge, huge point swing in just a couple of seconds, like 300 points in the blink of an eye. Yeah, very much not what I wanted. I mean, it's late in the game, you can sort of afford to have those losses without it being a complete throw. But I don't recommend it. It still is just not really what you want to do. Now, my Kurnos, this is a blind bomb, but it's also not. So we've seen where the Book M1 was. I know it's there. The Kurnos is, you know, targeted at that. But Osas can do a lot of damage. Igla Ends can do a lot of damage. K52 even shooting in. And I lose another plane there in the late closing minutes of this match. So, I don't know. Testing out the air tab. Lesson learned. Don't dive that deep. Use other tools for it. The issue for me is that the MAR-290 tends to have a little bit widespread for taking out those sorts of targets, and I wanted a quick response, and that was sort of the only one that I had, and that's something I may look at for the deck, because you need something like the Beacon, or if you're playing Eurocore, something like the César. They're really good fast response howitzers that can take out armor, they can take out infantry, maybe not heavy armor per se, but they certainly can do quite a number on backline units in quick response. So you see that Book, you target your howitzer on it, and it's going to be dead, unless it was immediately moved by your opponent, which some people do, but not everybody. Now, we do get the decap here from Hun to Hun, pushing up into the high ground, making sure that NoirLimes is not having a really easy time there up on the high ground, and this time he's doing it sort of combined arm push. So we have the STRV, the STRF 9040s, unfortunately taken out by a tank there in the back, but the 103D is going to be anchoring the support on that side, and Don't underestimate STRFs. He was actually able to, I think, damage that guy down, yeah, about half with the STRFs. But that's going to be 500 points well played to both my opponents, NoirLimes and Nicola81. My KD 2130, 1430. Our team 3,640 to 2905. Really good game, really unexpected opener, and just a lot of unit testing for Israel. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Highlight units: my Draken. I promised you guys a kill list a mile long. Mi-24D, Akula, Mi-8 MTV, Mi-8 TV, Mi-8 TV, and a Salamandra. Very, very happy with that. Got his value back with just the Salamandra at the end, let alone the 24D, the Akula, and the supporting 30-ish, 35-ish point helicopters. Other standout units are probably going to be the Eye Shermans. One Eye Sherman, 15-point tank, killed 2 Meritas and an 810D. Like, that's such good value, holy cow. And that's just side shots. He wasn't sitting there alone, he was with other Eye Shermans, so he didn't go through the armor all on his own. But it looks like this lucky guy, Solomon, did get the killing blow on two 55 AM2 Meritas. 3D Bass did alright. Kind of wish I'd been able to get a bit more function out of him. But we also did get a couple of nice picks with the Mar290 and the Kurnos. So that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.